When strong emotions show up, do you welcome them and allow them to pass through you? Or do you try to resist them and make them go away? You're listening to Pure Light, where we explore how you can believe in yourself and be happy with who you are. My name is Ailey. I'm a coach, writer, and yoga and meditation teacher. This is episode 114. So I know what's happening in the world right now is overwhelming. There are a lot of intense feelings that come up along with everything that's happening. So there's the fear and anxiety related to the safety and security of loved ones and ourselves. You know, that like, am I going to be okay? Are the people I love going to be okay? Are we going to be able to get food? That kind of thing. And then on top of that, there's the shock and grief of losing what was normal, because things changed pretty quickly. And as part of that, there's been, like a lot of anger and frustration and some denial and sadness and a whole range of emotions that goes along with that. And then there's also the heartbreaking stories of people and families impacted by coronavirus and all the amazing healthcare workers who support them. And every day there are more and more stories, and the impact kind of grows because it just feels closer and closer to home. That's a lot. 2 episodes back, I talked about how a lot of people are probably thinking, this shouldn't be happening right now, and how that creates resistance, which is a way of trying to internally oppose what's happening. And I was talking about resistance related to external circumstances, so related to the fact that we're in a pandemic right now. But resistance can also come up with respect to our inner experience, to those strong emotions and overwhelming feelings, which is what I want to talk about in this episode. Emotions are a form of energy, and when you process them, when you allow yourself to feel them fully, they pass through you. But when you resist them or ignore them or try to hide them or hide from them, they don't get processed. That energy, even though in a way you're trying to contain it, it stays with you in some capacity. Like it can show up as tension in the body. And there are ways that we all do this, like this avoiding, to try to protect ourselves, to try to avoid being vulnerable to life, like to try to prevent ourselves from feeling pain. So things like being so busy that we never pay attention to how we feel or, how our bodies feel, which can be a form of numbing. Or actually using something to numb ourselves, whether that's something like alcohol or some other substance or some kind of food or even technology or some kind of addictive pattern. And that includes thinking too much, because getting caught up in your head diverts attention from the body. So whenever you do something to avoid feeling, it's like a contraction, because some of the space or capacity that you have to feel is then taken up or absorbed by the energy of the feelings that are not being processed. So it's almost like a way of shutting down your capacity to feel by putting up that guard, that emotional armor, or that kind of numbing protection. And you do that every time you try to hide your feelings or try to not face them. And that's one way to cope with everything that's going on. And the other option is to go more deeply into your experience, meaning to create the time and space for you to feel whatever's coming up for you. So to focus your attention on that energy in your body and breathe through it and let it be there instead of trying to shut it down or make it go away. Because when you bring your attention to it with a gentleness and with a loving curiosity, instead of approaching it with some level of not wanting it to be there, even if you don't like the fact that it's there, if it isn't something that you would actually choose to experience, you can still get to a place of acceptance of your experience, where you aren't wishing it was something different. So where there's none of that resistance to what you're feeling. You can be at peace with whatever emotions or energy is within you, simply by allowing it to be there and allowing yourself to experience it fully instead of trying to make it go away. And when you do that, instead of contracting your capacity to feel, you're expanding it. So whenever you notice yourself doing something to numb, so going back to an addictive pattern or eating too much or using alcohol to avoid feeling or something like that, use it as a sign to drop back into the body and feel what's going on. Give yourself time to just sit and feel and process whatever's coming up for you. Strong emotions are an invitation to feel more deeply, to open up instead of shutting down, to either create more resistance or more openness to welcome whatever life has in store for us. So the question is, will you accept that invitation? Because you can't selectively allow yourself to feel the feelings you like and then not feel the ones that you don't. You either feel them all, including the ones you would rather not have, or you shut them all down at some level. Every moment is an opportunity to go deeper into your experience or to run away from it and try to prevent yourself from feeling the pain. When you try to avoid what you're feeling, you don't process it and you end up hanging on to that energy. But when you go deeper into it, you allow it to pass through you. You get to the other side, which reinforces the truth that feelings are fleeting. They fade. The pain is not permanent. It's like weather just passing through. If you want to go more deeply into your experience, instead of trying to avoid it, meditation is a great way to train yourself to do that because it gives you the opportunity to focus on what's going on inside you without getting distracted by the outside world. If you find meditation hard to get into, but you really want to get into the habit, go to purelightpodcast.com. There are some resources waiting for you in the show notes for this episode 114. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, may you be guided by your light.